thalidomide scandal, and first I'm going to talk about what thalidomide is. It was created by a German pharmaceutical company, Grunenthal, in the 1950s as a morning sickness medicine. It was used from 1967 to 1961, which is when it was found to cause severe birth defects, primarily in the limbs of these children. It would be short, and all these pictures, they were shorter and they were stubby, and it was very, very unfortunate. It affected 10,000 to 20,000 babies approximately, which is a significant amount for a thing that was only on the market for 4 years. And now it's used to treat leprosy and bone marrow cancer. So medicine that we gave to pregnant women is now used to treat lepers and cancer patients. Alright, here are just a few pictures. This is the drug itself, and these are children who were affected by the thalidomide. They don't really have arms, and this is a man now who lived through this thalidomide scandal. Okay, I'm going to show a video. I need to pull it up. So sorry, 35 seconds. 35 seconds. Yeah. To go to second 35.
That one has 250 views.
That's what you're upset about.
So it was September 1st, 2012.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
So basically, this video is an apology. This is go to 35 and pause it. Basically, this past year, this past month, the company Grunenthal apologized to the victims of the thalidomide scandal, essentially. Oh, okay, thank you. So they apologized.
You didn't mean to do that.
Okay. They apologized, and a lot of the people who were affected were not fine with their apology, and we'll see the video now. You can play it.
We have been
to
sorry.
135.
We are very sorry for that. We ask that you regard our long silence as a sign of the silent shock that your fate has caused us.
Some 10,000 babies were affected by thalidomide. It's estimated that 5,000 to 6,000 survivors are still alive. Despite the apology, the company is not admitting to any legal liability. It says it followed the standard safety testing at the time.
The survivors and their mothers feel the apology is too little, too late, even pathetic, some say. This Australian mother was one of the many who took the drug and said the apology by the company boss rang hollow.
I have read his speech, so-called apology. It's the sort of apology you give when you're not really sorry.
Thalidomide is now back on the market, but for a different use, treating bone marrow cancer and leprosy. No help to those who survived its initial purpose.
All right.
Morning sickness, bone marrow. That's why I don't believe in it.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings me to my question. How do emotion and reason justify the extent to which an apology is accepted, specifically in this thalidomide scandal? I have some questions that we'll hopefully answer throughout. Why should Grunenthal be considered either a good or bad company? What repercussions should Grunenthal have faced, if any? And why do some of the families who were affected by thalidomide feel as if the apology was fake and insincere? Alright, so on the topic of reason, you can really either accept or reject an apology. You can say you can kind of accept it, but if you're not fully accepting it, then you're not really, you don't care if they're sorry if you don't really accept the apology. So we can reject the apology for the reason saying that this company affected the lives of these families in ways that can never be changed. That's not logical to, you can't be sorry. They produced the medicine, therefore they should be punished. Logically, that's how it should go. And then either you can accept the apology and say, there's nothing else the company can do besides apologize. These lives were changed, but they can't, fix these children, or now adults. So they were, and all of the research done prior to releasing this drug was done correctly to the standards at the time. Last year in my medical interventions class, we learned about this thalidomide drug, and it was specifically during our medical trials unit, and this drug case actually caused a big overhaul of the system. More tests needed to be done, because this drug was really only tested on mice. This drug was only tested on mice. and there was no deformity in the mice that were, born with this drug being used. So that's all they had to do was test the drug on animals instead of before testing it on humans, which we find that outrageous, but that's what it was at the time. And then emotion, we can either be directly affected to people who use this drug or not directly affected. So those who aren't directly affected, our emotions are usually not, the emotions of those who aren't affected are usually not as strong. So feelings for the company are going to be innately weaker. I don't know personally anyone who is affected by this thalidomide drug, so I accept the apology for what it is. More likely to openly accept the apology. Those who are directly affected, the people who were deformed and the families of those, are going to have stronger feelings toward it. They're going to be more rejectful and doubtful of this apology. And this goes back to the question, why do some of the families who were affected by thalidomide feel as if the apology was fake? Because they have this hateful feeling toward the company because they were directly affected. And that goes back to my final question, how do emotion and reason justify the extent to which an apology is accepted, specifically in this thalidomide scandal? With emotion, it can be justified, either you reject the apology using emotion as you feel more strongly toward the topic, toward the company. Why should Grunenthal be considered either a good or bad company? It goes back to reason and emotion. If you feel as if the company did wrong and should be punished for it, then you're going to see it as a bad company. And if you feel like their apology was all they could really do and they did all that was necessary at the time, then you can still see it as a good company. They couldn't do any more. What repercussions did Grunenthal have faced, if any? Well, they faced the backlash of society, of these families. They released this drug that caused the deformities of many, and people will see that as, evil, as bad. And then why do some of the families, that has been answered, they see it because they were directly affected, and they're still bitter over this. They can't change what was done, and that upsets them. I actually looked up for quotes or videos of families who accept the apology of the company, and I couldn't find any. And that kind of surprised me because you thought there'd be at least some people, at least publicly some people, that would have accepted this apology. But I couldn't find any. And I guess that could go back to the media only wanting to show bad coverage instead of positive. So I now open this question to you. How do you think reason and emotion justify?
I think it's, in this case, it's probably more driven by emotion because the women were pregnant and they had that bond with their baby. They just had morning sickness and it ended up changing their child's life. I don't want to say necessarily ruin it, but for the woman who was in the wheelchair, she didn't have arms or legs really. That would really influence your life, and that your life is essentially a lot of years. Whereas a company just apologizing, there's not really much else. They could pay them money, but money's not going to fix their child. Mm-hmm. So reasoning, you can think, well, there's not really much else they can do besides pay, but that's not going to change anything. So I think it's mostly emotion.
I think, emotion's a big factor, especially guilt from the mother, because she's the one who decided to take the medicine because she couldn't handle the morning sickness. So she's the one who directly put this on her child, affected her child. Whether or not I wouldn't necessarily say that that makes her bad or anything, but I'm just saying she's gonna feel that guilt for it, in the way mothers feel bad or feel guilt for their child, even when it's someone else hurting them. So I think emotion's a huge part.
I think it depends on the stage. Just to clarify, this apology was just released last month.
After 50 years.
Yeah, so I think if they had done this public apology earlier, I mean, within a year of the whole